even though I knew of you before,
Mm-hmm.
I saw my Winnipeg because it was offered to me, and since I was interviewing you, that was the first film I saw. I did go on the internet to see
Mm-hmm.
some of your shorts on YouTube.
Right. Some of them are pretty flippant and not really.
Well, it's
but
true.
They're whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
saw the
shorts tend to be
silly,
just,
the
I make
slapping
them-
party.
Sissy Boy Slap Party.
Mhm.
Yeah, I make these movies out of loneliness sometimes. You know, it's kind of like the old Andy Hardy movies where, you know, Mickey Rooney says, "Hey, let's put on a musical," or something like that, and he and Judy and a bunch of the kids get down at the barn and put something on. So it's kind of like that. I get lonely and go, "Hey, I'll call up some friends and let's make a movie."
Well, that's
I got to get some
interesting.
nudity into it.
It's a
just,
very,
get
it's a
something
very
going.
complex form of distraction, though. I mean, it must have taken quite a bit of time to.
Yeah.
I mean, there were lots of musical numbers, if you will, or
Yeah.
sort of Busby Berkeley
Yeah,
type
I've
of
made a
stuff.
lot of these things, and some of them I would never allow out into the public, but they do keep the rust off my eyeball as a composer of images in between features, because sometimes the years can surprisingly pile up in a hurry between feature projects. So it's nice to keep busy so that you don't make the same rudimentary errors on the first day of shooting features. Because you've been recently shooting something else, something disposable or, like I say, flippant. But so yeah, YouTube is gridlocked with crap that I've made. Some of it I'm actually secretly proud of, and other stuff is just there just to be out there.
Well, there was Sombra Doloroso.
Yeah, Sombra
Which was
Dolorosa,
good. I
the
liked
Sorrowful
that. I mean-
Shadow. Yeah, I always wanted to make a Mexican wrestling movie, and but I Nacho Libre, just kicks the crap out of that one. I love that movie, and of course all the Santos, the authentic Mexican wrestling pictures, kick the crap out of that in turn. So it was one of those things where I wish I was a Mexican director in the 60s and could just had the freedom to make one of these, cheesy melodramas involving a real-life wrestler as a protagonist. And I don't know. So
Yeah, I don't
just-
know these movies at all, so you're
No,
I'm
and
lost
I
here.
didn't know much about them either, and I was just instantly delighted by them. I've since found out how well-known they are in certain circles. So, I just wanted to, it was just it's typical of me to want to rewrite history to include myself, so I just kind of thought, well, I'll make one, and that's kind of like going back in time and adding my name to to the credits of a Mexican wrestling picture.
Yes, and also to latch on to film genres that are very stylized.
Yeah.
You mentioned cheesy. I don't know if I would go that
Well,
far.
yeah, that's too dismissive, and I'm probably just hurting someone's feelings now. Actually, those pictures have rules that they obey, and cheesy's a real lazy term. I won't. I retract it.
So you are very kind.
It's like I want to be fair, to the various stylizations that directors have access to in making a film. I teach a course in melodrama at university back home, and almost always the students drive me crazy by just describing performances as over the top. And
Yeah.
that's just a lazy way of saying it's less inhibited, and sometimes you can get at honest human emotions better by uninhibiting them. And so, but the term over the top seems to, and cheesy, have negative connotations, when in fact you can get at far easier access to human emotional dynamics through uninhibiting performances, or maybe by going cheesy too. I like
What do you mean by? I'm sorry. What do you mean by uninhibiting performances?
I will talk about my definition of melodrama for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
You know how in waking life you have to behave yourself. You can't just grab someone
Yeah.
you lust after and have your way with them. You can't just steal money you see sitting there. You can't, if you feel sad, it's frowned upon if you cry in public. But in your dreams at night, you get to cry. You get to, if you're lucky, you get to grab the person you lust after. You get to hit people you don't like, things that terrify you. You get to flee. You don't have to act cool or anything like that. So I would argue that our dream selves are our uninhibited selves. We get to be ourselves, no matter how bizarre the dreams are. We have little need to civilize our emotions. So our waking selves are inhibited, but good melodrama presents an uninhibited versions of ourselves. So they're kind of melodramatic plot lines are almost are related to dream plot lines in that one way. They're just as uninhibited as our dream selves, as the plot lines of our dreams. And so good melodrama does it well, and bad melodrama does it poorly, that's all. And almost everything's melodramatic. You don't want to see something that's completely natural, otherwise you just watch, security camera tapes of people buying chewing gum at gas stations and things like that.
True life is very boring.
Yeah, and so that's why reality television always edits to create melodramatic plot lines, alliances and enemies, and so does the evening news, so does CNN, so does everything. Everything is melodramatized, but most people hate melodrama. So I always talk about uninhibited. What the news does is something different than uninhibited. They take what people usually think of as melodrama, they take real life and exaggerate it to create fear and stuff like that. And bad melodrama is just real life exaggerated, whereas good melodrama is real life uninhibited. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about uninhibited. So I always, that's my working model of melodrama. And so when I'm shooting movies, I try to take my feelings and uninhibit them. That's all. And in other words, I come out almost with a Tourette's syndrome style outburst every now and then, a filmic or verbal outburst of what I feel and think. And I don't just mean my opinions in my Winnipeg about how bad it was they tore down the arena, but I'm saying things about my family I shouldn't be saying.
No, that does come across.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Well, we could get to that.
I should be muzzled.